Hello and welcome to STEM Bites. STEM Bites is a YouTube channel where you can learn topics in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields. Today, we will be talking about linear equations in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form might be confusing at a first glance, but once you understand the concept, it is very easy and useful. In this video, we will talk about the parts of a linear equation, we'll understand how to write and graph linear equations, and then we'll solve a couple of word problems. So let's start by understanding the parts of a linear equation. Linear equations are written in the form y equals mx plus b, where x is your input, y is your output, m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. The slope is the rate of change, or how much the x and y values change from one point on the line to another. It tells you how steep the line is, and in linear equations, the rate of change is always constant. The y-intercept is the y value where x equals 0. On a graph, you can find the y-intercept by seeing where the line touches the y-axis. Be sure not to confuse the y-intercept with the y value. Let's use that information and find an equation for this graph. We can find the equation by substituting values from the graph into the slope-intercept formula, y equals mx plus b. First, we can find the slope. The slope is found by dividing the difference between the y values of any 2 points on the line by the difference in the x values between those same 2 points. In this problem, the difference between the y values is positive 2, because the y value increases by 2 between the two red points. And the difference between the x values is positive 1, because the x value increases by 1 between the two red points. The slope is the change in y divided by the change in x. 2 divided by 1 is 2, so the slope is 2. Since the slope is positive, the line will go up when looking from left to right. We need to know the y-intercept as well, and finding it using a graph is quite easy. You just find where the line hits the y-axis, and in this case, the coordinates of that point are 0, 3. The y-coordinate of this point is 3, so that will be your y-intercept. We can fit the values of the slope and the y-intercept into our equation, and we're done. Let's try another one. This time, we will find the equation from two coordinates on a line. As always with slope-intercept form, you need the slope and the y-intercept. Finding the slope is the same, but you just don't have a graph to visualize it. You find the difference between the y values, which is 0 minus negative 1. Simplified, it's positive 1. Then you find the difference between the x values, which is negative 2 minus 0, and that simplifies to negative 2. Divide positive 1 by negative 2, and you get a slope of negative 1/2. For the y-intercept, we can substitute the coordinates of a point on the line and the slope into the formula, and solve algebraically for the y-intercept. There are many ways to find the y-intercept, but this method is the easiest. We have our formula, y equals mx plus b, and we can substitute in the coordinates of any point on the line, and I will choose 0, negative 1. We will also substitute the slope in. Now, let's simplify. Negative 1/2 times 0 is just 0, so we can cancel that out. If we had any other number than 0, we would subtract or add the value to both sides of the equation to isolate the variable. Since the 0 doesn't make a difference in addition, the variable is isolated and we have b equals negative 1. Plug that into our equation and we are all set. To graph this, we can make an x and y table, plugging in values for x into the equation and getting output values of y. We can plot those points and connect them, making a line. Now let's try this word problem. A tutoring company charges $15 to sign up and $7 for every class. How much do you have to pay for 5 tutoring sessions? Pause the video and try to solve it. Alright, let's try this together. The problem says you have to pay $15 to sign up, so that will be our y-intercept. If you take 0 classes, you will only pay this fee of $15. So when your input is 0 classes, your output will be $15. The y-intercept is where x equals 0. So 15 is our y-intercept. The slope is how many dollars you have to pay for each class. It's the rate of change. In this word problem, the slope is 7. When you fit these two values into your formula, you have y equals 7x plus 15. To find out how much 5 lessons will cost, you will need to substitute 5 as the input, or x. When you plug it into your equation, you get y equals 7 times 5 plus 15. Simplify and you get 35 plus 15, which is 50. 5 lessons will cost $50. The graph for this equation is shown on the right. Let's try another one. This word problem is a little different from the first one. It says a store is selling notebooks for 50 cents each. Martin has $4.75 with him. How many notebooks can Martin buy? Pause the video and give it a go. Alright, let's solve it together. Martin starts off with $4.75, which will be our y-intercept. For every notebook he buys, he pays 50 cents. Essentially, you're subtracting 0.5 from $4.75 every time he buys a notebook. The slope is negative 0.5. The slope is negative because you're taking away 50 cents from $4.75. Let's use that information to find an equation. Starting with y equals mx plus b, as always, we can use 4.75 for b and negative 0.5 for m. We can then substitute 0 for y, because Martin can buy notebooks until he has $0 left. To solve algebraically, we should first subtract 4.75 from both sides of the equation, giving us negative 4.75 equals negative 0.5x. This makes sure we just have the variable and its coefficient on one side of the equation. And then we can divide both sides of the equation by negative 0.5, giving us x equals 9.5. Since you can't buy half a notebook, let's round it down to 9. So we found that Martin can buy 9 notebooks. You could approach this problem by subtracting 0.5 from 4.75 until you got to 0, but that method is a lot more time consuming and it's easier to make mistakes. I hope this video was helpful and explained the concept of slope-intercept form well. If you like this video and would like to see more content like this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching!